It's been an evening to allow the valve cover to dry. Let's see how it looks when we install it back on the engine. Now while that valve cover settles into its new home, we're going to introduce this dash mat to some of this black vinyl fabric dye type stuff. It's gone a bit blue and funny looking. A bit of black dye should make it really pop. Smashing through the to-do list here. Next thing is the lower radiator hose needs replacement because, well, it's kind of dodgy old fella down there. I don't know when it was replaced or if it was ever replaced. It's clearly an OEM style rubber one. I've got this silicone one, which isn't new, but it's in much better condition than that one there. So we'll throw this fella on, pull that out. We'll have to obviously do a bit of a coolant flush and a drain of the coolant, but such is life. But this will definitely smarten up that hose and ease my mind that, you know, that thing is getting old looking. I think that's enough burping. I'll finish it off properly next time we start the car and make sure that there's no air in the system then. Time, I think, to move away from the engine bay and work on cleaning up this interior and getting it all back together. We've got some seats that need to go back in, and I'll need to change the steering wheel over to the standard one, and I think that's about it. There's not actually much that needs to go into here. It's already kind of good. Unfortunately, I went to bolt this driver's side seat in, and I noticed that this pivot point where the backrest attaches to the base, it's missing some sort of washer and a bolt here. It looks like the bolt's actually snapped off, and there's some wiggle room here. So we need to get the busted bolt out. We need to fill this space with some sort of spacer or a washer or something, and then put the bolt back in. I don't have the original bit here, so we're going to have to do a bit of ingenuity to make it work. Well, I've spent the last few hours working on this car, cleaning up the last few little bits here and there, the little tidbits that kind of clean it up and get it looking real nice. So, for example, I've finished off sort of most of the engine bay now. I put the old engine damper back in, but I sort of rigged up a new sort of brace design that goes direct from the top of the head to the body. We couldn't use the old brace because it used to go under the exhaust where the heat shield now lives, so that wasn't going to quite work. Everything here is now done. I've got some new windscreen wipers, which I wasn't going to show you how to do those because, let's be honest, that's not exactly fun. You would have seen we've got the new seats in now. I've put my fire extinguisher in and my funny 3D printed cup holder. I've also thrown a new battery in the boot. The steering wheel's on, which you probably saw. Dash mat. The interior is all looking pretty nice and schmick. Engine bay is pretty much done. We need to obviously do something about the coolant. We'll need to just top that up once we start it. But I think that's kind of the hard work finished. I have been a little distracted today because, well, Time Attack's been on and they keep showing pretty girls on screen, so yeah, you can't not watch the live stream of this while you're working on your car. So that is kind of it in this car. I think we're pretty much ready to give it a quick start up and take it for a little spin, and it probably does need a bit of a wash too. The car's getting pretty dusty, so yeah, I think I'll start it and see how it runs.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, as always, it's been fantastic to have you along for this spruce up, this spring clean. We've transformed this car. It's been neglected. It's been sitting sort of unloved in the backyard at home. I haven't been driving it. It's great to now have it back on the road. I've given it an oil change. I've given it some fresh coolant. We've cleaned up the engine bay. We've cleaned up the interior. We've thrown in these nice leather seats. Everything's just looking much more smarter. It drives lovely. Mostly, it's still got some punch to it. Still got that supercharger buzz or whir or whatever you want to call it. The exhaust now a bit quieter thanks to the change in their headers. I probably would like a little bit more bark out the back, but I don't know, maybe we'll throw in a muffler in the rear one day. But for now, it's a nice streetable car. I can use it again, and I'm going to go and put it on Club Permit Rego like I did with the red car recently. It's going to make things a little bit cheaper to be able to afford to keep this car on the road, which would be nice, and it'll drop my insurance costs as well. The thing gets driven maybe once or twice a week, if that, so it's definitely a perfect candidate for Club Permit. As always, thank you very much for watching, and it's been fantastic to have you along for this kind of mini series. Thanks for watching, we'll see you next time.